What's up, YouTube? This is Alex from Animals and Athletes, and I want to talk about something that I experienced recently, dealing with wolf dogs. So there's a lady that's local to me, probably like 45 minutes from me, that sort of boasts and brags about having almost pure wolves, which would indicate that they're high content wolf dogs, and they simply aren't high content wolf dogs. They barely look like they have any wolves in them, but she's going on and on talking about her animals and how they're almost pure wolves, and she gives all the classic signs telling me that they're not high content wolf dogs. For instance, she talks about them being great guard dogs. She talks about them loving kids and being really good in the house. You know, they weren't when they were younger, but now they're really good in the house, being that they're 3 years old. And what else was she saying? That she's able to take food from their mouth and hand feed them, and well, hand feed's not that big of a deal, but she's able to take food from their mouth and there's no food aggression. So these are signs that tells me that these aren't really high content wolf dogs, besides the number one sign, which is the way these animals look. So I've been posting a lot of pictures on Facebook of my puppies, and she's commending them, and she understands that these are the real deal. These are definitely HCWDs, high content wolf dogs, but which means they're indistinguishable from wolves. They look like pure wolves, and I'm trying to get that through her head. So she invites me over to her house to see her animals, and immediately I see signs of doggy traits just by the way they walk, how they're coming up and greeting me, jumping on me. And this is wonderful. They're beautiful, beautiful, wonderful dogs. So I wouldn't even call a high content wolf dog. I hate that we call them a dog, because it indicates that they may behave like a dog in some fashion, and they simply don't. Not in my experience, and I'm not super experienced. I've only been doing wolf dogs for about maybe 10, 11 years, and high content for about 6 years. So I'm not super experienced on these animals, but from what I've seen, they just don't behave that way. They behave like wolves, and I think it's kind of misleading when we tell people that they're great pets and they're able to live in the house, because what ends up happening is people go out there searching, like myself, for a high content wolf dog, because we want this animal that looks like a wolf but behaves like a dog, and it just doesn't exist. There are some people who have success with this. They're able to have a high content wolf dog, but they spend an extraordinary amount of time with the animal, and I mean, it becomes their life. And if you're able to do that, then fantastic. I, for one, I'm not able to do that, so I can't dedicate that time with these animals, but I can dedicate a good amount of my time, which is what I do. And my animals are very loving and fantastic, and I really wouldn't call them socialized, and that is my fault. I haven't taken them around a lot of people, but they're very loving and kind animals. But they do go into protection mode when you try food protection mode, when you try to take their food, or if they've claimed something and you try to retrieve it from them. You just can't take it. You have to trade that animal for something. And these are the sweetest animals. They're very submissive, but the instinct from being a wolf kicks in after when you try to take his food, and you know, that's food aggression. This is very, very typical of high content, and I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, they were able to work it out of them. Well, this lady would boast and brag that, well, my animals aren't like that, and I don't want to put her name out there, but I'm not bad mouthing her. I'm just saying that she would boast and brag that her animals were very, very dog-like, and more ways than one, they really look like dogs. But it bit her on her the top of her forearm today. So when I asked her if she could pet him while she was feeding it dog food, and I've guessed that she's done that before, and I really thought that it would be safe for her, because you know, that's not a high priced item unless the wolf is starving. I mean, try to pet that animal when you're feeding it a duck or feeding it a chicken or something like that. Try to pet the animal then and see what happens. So, but I figured she could do it, and I said, "Well, can you go pet him?" And she walked over, kind of reluctant like, and there was three of them eating, and she sort of picked which one she wanted to eat, which was a smaller female, and she started petting it on the back, and immediately it just turned around and it bit her, and it got on two legs and it bit her, and she kind of screamed and was kind of moving back, and I rushed over, but I didn't go inside the kennel with her, and it was only happened for 2 or 3 seconds, but it got her pretty good on her arm. It wasn't a bad bite, but it drew blood, and then she said that this is what they call winter wolf syndrome, and I don't know these. So it didn't really tolerate that. So the bottom line is she kind of got called on her bluff today, which was sad, and I'm sure she'll take it out on the animal, being that it bit her. These animals most likely have some wolf in it, but certainly not high content, and I would really say mid content at the most, and maybe 45, 50% wolf. Certainly not high content, and she got a big dose of reality. So I was kind of hyped up, kind of pumped up earlier, but since then I've kind of calmed down and talked to a couple people, and expressed my concern because she's really not equipped to handle the animals, but she's given it the old college try. But I hope everything turns out right for her. But it's just pretty sad when you have people out there misrepresenting these animals and telling people that these animals are something that they're really not, because an unknowing person who hasn't done their research may end up going out there and buying one of these animals and then realizing it's way too much to handle. Just one high content is extremely a lot to handle. I have two, and it's a full-time job, and for someone to just kind of dismiss it and think that if you put time into it, you'll be able to have this animal in the house and treat this animal like a dog, that's definitely a fallacy. That's not true. So it's sad that she's kind of walking around talking like that, and but she's misrepresenting the breed. By the way, wolf dogs are the most misrepresented type of dog there is. So yeah, it's they're in for a rough ride, because people want to claim that they have wolf, and a high content wolf dog should look like a wolf. So I've babbled long enough. I just kind of wanted to tell you guys the story. I've talked to a couple people on the telephone, kind of wore them out. So I figured I'd wear you guys out too. Anyways, hit like, subscribe. This is a real quick story about what I just experienced.